Another year, another Mazda MX-5 review. I do one of these every single year. Last year I compared the MX-5 against the Honda S2000. The year before that it was against the GR86. This year it's all by itself, and that's because for 2024 the Mazda MX-5 does receive a few updates. So what are they? Let's go for a drive and find out. So, are one of those updates for the 2024 MX-5 a new engine? No. It still has the same 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, which produces 181 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. Now, of course, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of power by today's modern standards because you can get a Toyota RAV4 with 300 horsepower. But this MX-5 is light. It's just over 1 ton in curb weight. A car like this harkens back to the old school days, back when you had the original Golf GTI and the original Mini. Super lightweight cars with not a whole lot of power, but still a lot of fun to drive. What about the transmission then? Do you get a new gearbox with the MX-5? No, still the same 6-speed manual transmission with a very satisfying to use shifter. It's not the best shifter that I've ever felt. The best one in my opinion is that of the manual Toyota Supra, but this one is definitely up there. The clutch too is light, but it does have a distinctive bite point, so you know exactly when it starts to touch the flywheel. You can also get this car with the 6-speed automatic transmission. Come to think of it, I've never actually driven an MX-5 with a 6-speed automatic. So Mazda Canada, please put one in the press fleet for next year. So if the engine didn't change and the transmission didn't change, what did change in terms of the powertrain of the MX-5? Well, it now has a different steering rack. Mazda says that they've reduced the friction in the steering rack to give the steering a little bit more feel, both on center and as you start to load it up through the corners. They've also given this car a new limited slip differential that better controls the wheel slip and the locking of those rear wheels under deceleration. So will you actually notice these two changes? Not really, at least not on public roads. Maybe on a racetrack, and maybe if you have a 2023 MX-5 to compare back to back, then you may notice these changes. But for everyday driving or just enjoying a Sunday drive through the backcountry roads, you probably won't feel it. Another change for the 2024 model year is that it now has a second dynamic stability control system. So it has 2 buttons next to the driver's left knee. One is the traditional dynamic and traction control system, so as soon as you push it, everything is turned off. The other has a little flag on it, and what this one does, according to Mazda, is that on a racetrack, it will still rein in the traction and stability control, but if it feels like as though the car is about to spin out, it will intervene then. Again, something that you probably will never notice on public roads. At the end of the day, the Mazda MX-5 still is a very fun car to drive. Even if you don't push it to its limits, it'll still put a smile on your face. It gives you a very good sensation of speed because you're sitting so low to the ground. So even when you think that you're going really fast, in reality, you're probably not. And on top of all that, its small size makes it very easy to drive on narrow streets. It makes it easy to turn it around 180. And parking this car is an absolute breeze, whether it's in a large parking lot or on the side of a street. Not only is this a fun weekend car, but it is also something that you can use every single day. The biggest change to the 2024 Mazda MX-5 has to do with the inside. Now, I'm not talking about how it looks because it all looks exactly the same as the previous model years. You still get physical climate controls, same infotainment controls on the center console, same steering wheel, and pretty much the same instrumentation cluster. You still get an analog tachometer right in the center, as well as an analog speedometer on the right, but a fully digital gauge cluster on the left. The change that I'm talking about is the infotainment system. The Mazda MX-5 has finally been updated with the exact same infotainment system that all other Mazda vehicles have. It is primarily controlled through the big round dial on the center console, but this infotainment system was designed to work with this round dial, so I have no problem in controlling it that way. Best of all, you can use the touchscreen while the car is moving, and on this top spec GT trim, CarPlay and Android Auto are wireless. On lower spec trims, they are unfortunately wired. But I am very glad that Mazda has updated the MX-5 with the new infotainment system because the old one was very, very outdated. In terms of interior space, well, this car isn't very big for somebody as tall as me at 6'4". I mean, okay, with the seat all the way back, I have maybe a finger's width of space between my knee and the dashboard, but every time that I brake, my knee is hitting the dashboard. So by the end of this week, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have a bruise on my right knee. In terms of headroom, well, obviously with the top down, plenty of it, but even with the top up, my hair is close to touching the roof, but it's not actually touching. In terms of visibility, of course, again, with the roof off, you can see all around you without any impediments, except for the rear view mirror. It does get in the way of this field of vision, but there's not really that much that Mazda can do about it. I don't think they can sell the car without this, and they can't really move it up because then it's even closer to your face, but also gets in the way of the roof mechanism. And there's no point of them making it even slimmer because then what's the point? So unfortunately, it does impede a little bit of your vision in that direction, but otherwise it's not too bad. With the roof up, looking over my right shoulder, I'm basically looking through the back window, so my blind zone is not that big. But over my left shoulder, the blind zone is bigger with the roof up. Thankfully, the MX-5 does come with standard blind spot sensors, so that does help. And finally, in the trunk, it has 130 liters of space, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it can fit a small backpack along with a few other things in there, so it's actually not that bad. Should you need a bit more space for storing smaller items, there is a glove box in between the seats. This car does not have a traditional glove box, and if you pull the seats forward, you will find a little bit more storage space right behind them. So overall, the Mazda MX-5 is a very small car, but it does try to make the most out of the limited space that it has. Unfortunately, the 2024 Mazda MX-5 has gone up in pricing by a little bit. It now starts at just under $35,000 Canadian, and this top spec GT trim will cost you $42,000 Canadian. Now that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but once you factor in dealership fees and taxes, a car like this will cost you almost $50,000 Canadian. As I mentioned earlier in the review, the 2024 MX-5 receives the latest Mazda infotainment system. This is arguably the biggest new gadget on this car. But it also comes equipped with heated seats, leather upholstery, Bose premium audio system with 9 speakers including in the headrest, automatic climate control, built-in navigation system, LED headlights which turn with the steering wheel, a 4.6-inch digital display in the gauge cluster, and adaptive cruise control. The soft top is one of the easiest to put down or raise back up. It is manually operated, but you don't need to have the arms of a bodybuilder to move it. It has just one latch to hold it in place when it's up, and it clicks into place when it's down right behind the seats. The other changes to the 2024 Mazda MX-5 are the new LED daytime running lights and fake air vents just underneath them. There's a new wheel design for this GT trim, and the taillights have been tweaked a little bit as well. They look a little bit like the back of a jet engine. Another new item for 2024 is the Aero Gray paint color, or rather shade because it's not really a color. In the end, the updates for the 2024 Mazda MX-5 are welcomed, but if you already own a 2018 to 2023 MX-5, then perhaps it may not be worth it just yet to upgrade to this 2024 model. Yes, the new infotainment system is nice to have, but the car drives pretty much the same as a 2018 model year. If you own a pre-2018 model, now is the right time to upgrade. At the end of the day though, the Mazda MX-5 remains as a fun little sports car that can genuinely be used on a daily basis for work commutes or small errands, perhaps even the odd road trip here and there. If you'd like to know more about the 2024 Mazda MX-5, I have a more detailed written review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or in the pop-up banner in the top right corner. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.